IVM.
Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of your favorite daily public policy podcast, All Things Policy. I am Amit Kumar, a research analyst at Takshashila Institution's Indo-Pacific Studies program, and your host for today. And today, we're going to discuss some of the recent developments in the Levant, including the Houthi attack on Indian ships a few days ago. And to discuss more on this, I am joined by Harshit Sharma, an independent researcher who has worked with multiple think tanks like Claus and ITSA and closely follows the region. So Harshit, welcome.
Thank you, Amit. Good to be here.
Okay, Harshit. So tell us, what did we witness? So just recently, we witnessed some of the Indian ships are being attacked by the Houthi rebels. Can you shed some light on this incident? What went into this entire incident, and how did this incident? How did we come to this position, and what has been India's response? If you have any ideas, and how are other global powers reacting to this incident?
Yeah, sure. So, to begin with, I'll start with mentioning who Houthis are. So, Houthi is a Shia militia group, also Iranian proxy, based in Lebanon, who ousted the formal government of Yemen in 2014. And since then, they have been controlling much of the country, including the capital Sana'a. So this is clearly is all very much linked with the Hamas attack that took place on October 7th of this year. So when Hamas attacked on 7th October, Houthis declared them as their brothers and also declared that they are with them in this fight. So once the conflict escalated and Israel started mounting over the Gaza Strip, so it is in response to Israeli countermeasures in the Gaza Strip that the Houthis have started attacking the ships that passes through the Suez Canal through the Red Sea. So it is important to note that the geopolitical location of Houthis is very important for us here, because the region which is on the coast of Red Sea in the Yemen is most of it is controlled by Houthis, and the ships that pass through there, the Houthis at one point of time declared that they are going to attack the Israeli ships. Now it is very difficult to ascertain whether they are only trying to attack the ships which are linked with Israel, or they are doing it in a more free manner. But just on papers, they are saying that they are only going to attack ships related to Israel. And that's what we also, recently witnessed, that the ship which was much near to Dwarka in India was attacked. And this is the first time when US openly declared that this was done by Iran. Earlier, the US said that Iran was deeply involved in these attacks, the attacks which were done by Houthis. But this is the first time the US has said that this was directly done by Iran. And this is very critical, as 10% of the total global trade passes through Red Sea, through the Suez Canal. So it's a very tensed situation currently.
So broadly, what you're suggesting, Harshit, is that this is a coordinated attack, or an attack by Houthis in support of the Hamas, given how the Israeli forces have dominated in the past few weeks against in this current Israel Hamas conflict, right? So you said the situation has turned tensed. So what else do you expect, and do you expect an escalation in this regard? And how can Houthis, trouble more? So far, what we have seen is that they have attacked these ships through drones. So do you see any form or sort of escalation that could be brought in about by either sides?
Yes, so far we have seen that the Arab world has not responded militarily or in similar kind against Israel, except for public statements that they have made, and mostly they have just said that they're for the ceasefire, and very immediately. But if the Houthi attacks continue, there we can imagine a scenario where eventually the US may decide that it needs to retaliate by targeting those missile launch sites. And this may in turn may lead to involve Iran directly, even though it's a unlikely scenario. And since so far both sides, Iran as well as the US, have wished to avoid such a scenario, but if the tension escalates and Houthis keep attacking more and more ships, then there may come a time where Iran and the US may come into a direct confrontation.
Hmm. Oh well, that's great. That's a great assessment, Harshad. So I would like to ask you if I mean. Because in the past few weeks we have seen that Hamas has been insistent, and even some of the parties that support the Palestinian issue have been insistent on a ceasefire, and Israeli forces have so far been not very keen on getting a ceasefire, and as they intend to completely dominate Hamas and eliminate it as a threat, so that it does not pose a problem to it in future. So would you see that this is something what the Houthis are now doing is a kind of leverage that they're trying to get to force the Israelis to come to an agreement or some sort of ceasefire, wherein the Hamas gets some sort of relief, and then they regroup, and then they relaunch their attack?
Yes, this to an extent makes sense. Iran, through Houthis, are trying to pressure Israel and the US to come to a sort of understanding that a ceasefire is very much needed. As so far we have seen, over 20,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip, and according to some reports, two-thirds of them are women and children. And apart from this, as the Israeli government is claiming that they're continuously attacking and bombarding the bases of Hamas. So this may be a strategy that the Iran, Hamas, and Houthis, all of them together, are using to pressure Israel and the US to call for a ceasefire.
Fine. I think that's a very, makes quite a sensible approach to look at this new problem that the Houthis have created. Now, I would like to ask you about the involvement of how involved the two countries, especially Iran and US, have been in this crisis, especially after what the Houthis have done. So, how has the US responded? What has been its action plan, and what about the accusation that the US has put around Iran's involvement in this entire episode? How involved do you think, and how? I mean, Iran has rejected US accusations and instead put forward the statement that although it sells some of the weapons to Houthis, what Houthis do is their own prerogative, and something which is not concerned, which does not concern Iran. So how deeply do you think Iran is involved in this entire episode, and what do you think would be America's action plan of action?
So Iran so far officially have just said that they politically support Houthis and they politically support Hamas, but they have nothing to do with the Hamas's attack on October 7 and the drone attacks of by Houthis. Officially, this has been the statement by Iran. However, the US has continuously been suspecting Iran that they have been deeply involved in all of this. And the US has been standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel since the Hamas attack, even though there were some speculations right in the beginning that President Biden, who we were witnessing, is not having a very cordial sort of relationship with the Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu for the for different reasons, particularly the laws that the Israeli Knesset has recently passed. But after the attack, we have seen that President Biden and the US they have been militarily been supporting Israel. They are supporting them in the UN, and they have also the US is trying to create an international force in the Red Sea to counter the Houthi attacks. So I would say that US has been standing steadfastly with Israel in all of this through thick and thin.
Stay tuned to All Things Policy. We'll be right back after a short commercial break.
Yeah, it's interesting because so far US was having tough time in the United Nations and even at international fora, where it was at the receiving end, at the receiving end, and was facing a lot of criticism by the international community, especially the Arabs and other countries. And US was having a hard time defending Israel's interest against the Palestinians and the Hamas, but lately US did express some of the concerns with regard to what Israeli forces have, the kind of destruction that they have caused, and there were reports wherein Biden had asked actually to taper down the efforts, the defense efforts that the Israelis were taking up in the Palestinian territories. But actually, what Houthis have now done has extended some form of justification into what the Israelis have been doing, and then the Hamas's links with Houthis, and then the terrorist past records, and especially the problem that this episode, I think, in my opinion, has created, that it has involved multiple other countries, especially India, which has taken some sort of a balanced stance on the Palestinian issue. And by extrapolating and involving and taking this war to ships and shipping, I would say, to commercial businesses, that could hurt commercial businesses of other countries which are not directly involved in this conflict. I think through this, if in any way Houthis attack were related to the Hamas's situation in the Israeli-Palestine conflict, they have, I think, shot themselves in the foot, and this will create a problem. So, what do you think would be? Extending onto this, drawing from this, what do you think? Do you think India's stance would change, or would it have some sort of a impact on India's position so far on the Israeli-Palestinian issue? And second, its relationship with Iran, because if Iran was aware of what the Houthis were planning to do, and the fact that Indian ships were attacked by the Houthis, do you think that it would in any way impact India's relations with Iran? Two questions.
Well, what exactly India may respond is for all of us to wait and watch. But I, in my humble assessment, can only say that the balanced approach that India has had so far, not just about this post the Hamas attack, on October 7. But even in the past, since 1990s, has been quite balanced. And I'll say that it's something that we'll continue to see, because the balanced approach that India has is for very right reasons. India's energy security is largely like India depends on the Arab world, and since 1990s and particularly post 2014, we have witnessed that India and Israel are having a very cordial relations. They're having multiple engagements, multiple partnerships, from irrigation to military to technology and whatnot. So the balanced approach is because of for a reason. But I'd say that the attacks that the Houthis are doing in the Red Sea and in the international waters is something which is creating tension, not just for the US, but for mostly all of the nations, because the Suez Canal connects Asia through Europe, and the ships that used to take 19 days through Suez Canal are taking almost 31 days. And but it's not like all the ships are rerouting because of these attacks, but some of them are. And if the situation keeps escalating, then we'll see that more and more ships will take the reroute through Cape of Good Hope, and this will not only increase the time but also the cost, and obviously the risk factor if they pass through the Suez Canal. So I'll say everybody is tense, but none more than the US. I'd say, because although US has been trying to a bit pressurize Israel to to reconsider the kind of attacks and the way they have been going about in the Gaza Strip, attacking the basis of Hamas. But I'd say that all in all, they are supporting Israel in whatever they want to do. And it's very important for us to realize the fact that US is among the very few countries who recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and this says a lot about the US's stand, on this situation. And we'll continue to see what happens, but this is something which I can say for now.
Oh, great. Well, so another angle after what you have said about Israel-US relations, another angle that I want to explore is the fact that so far the Arab states, especially, I mean, one of the Arab states, that is Saudi Arabia, has been sympathetic to the concerns of the Palestinians, and even though they did not directly support what Hamas has done, I mean, they have been sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. And now, after the fact that, I mean, the fact that the Houthis have relationship with Hamas, and now the Hamas has come out in support of Houthis have come out in support of Hamas by attacking ships or in the US and the other countries' ships, including India's ships in international water. And given the relationship that Houthis share with Iran, how does it impact this entire dynamic, especially the Saudi-Irani dynamic and Saudi's position on the current conflict? Because this just serves as a justification for the Israelis to go on, and even for the US to support Israelis in their efforts. If I mean, taking this conflict, taking this war to the international waters has, I mean, it does. In my opinion, it will backfire. And given that this situation, how this situation will evolve, how would the dynamic between the Saudi and Iranians evolve, and the Israel-Saudi relationship? If you could have any, you would have any thoughts on both of these factors?
I think it's not going to impact much, where it comes to Saudi's response, considering the Houthis attack. I say this because it's not like the issue has become, like radically more sensitive or important to Saudi Arabia now. It was a very sensitive issue already for Saudi Arabia as well as the Arab world. The position the Saudi Arabia has taken so far has been that they sympathize with the Palestinians. They want a two-state solution. But the way we have seen the Arab world has responded earlier, to Israel, we are seeing that they are not doing the same thing now. In fact, the Crown Prince of the UAE has also condemned the Hamas attack. This we couldn't have imagined earlier. And the reason for that is that for since some time we were witnessing the you know the proceedings of the Abraham Accords that took place earlier during the Trump era, and as like just a week before the Hamas attack, the Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said about the possible Israel Saudi rapprochement that we are getting closer to it every passing day. And I also think that this could have been one of the possible reasons why Hamas attacked, Israel. So whatever is happening in the present is not going to, I think, not going to impact in the future regarding the Israel Saudi Arabia rapprochement, because the reason for the coming together is very, very strategic, not just to counter Iran, but it's also very important for Saudi Arabia in their own, domestic factors. For instance, the Neom city that the Saudi Arabia is building, a sort of futuristic city as they call it, they are building it through the Israeli technology. So it's not like they can just stop their, relations with Israel in whatever form it was taking place so far. And as we can see for now is that in the future, we'll see that the relations will take a different route from what we are witnessing in the present. And that's the reason why I'm saying that in the longer run, it may not impact very much the Israel Saudi rapprochement.
Okay, interesting. And I need to ask you, how what assessment do you make of the regional players at the current juncture? Would you see that Qatar would be in any place to influence the current environment that has come about after this Houthis attack? Do you see a role for Qatar? How important is Qatar's role in this entire conflict? Secondly, what do you make? How do you see this entire conflict progressing in the next month or so, or as we close the year in 4 days or a few days from now? What do you see? What do you make of this situation? How it is going to unfold in the coming year, in the next year, the new year that will be welcoming in just few days?
Well, Qatar has been playing an enormous role in this situation, along with Egypt. But I would say, like, more than the Qatar, I see Egypt taking a more prominent role, playing a more prominent role in this. In fact, they have, I think, just yesterday came out with a very broad ceasefire plan, and as we have also witnessed earlier, that Egypt has been the country which has mostly brokered a truce or a ceasefire during a Israel-Palestine conflict in the past. And as it has also been the first Arab country to forge diplomatic ties with Israel in 1979. So I see Egypt playing a more prominent role in this. And with regards to what is going to happen or what may happen in the future, it's very, very uncertain, like every other conflict is. But this ongoing situation, Israel and Palestine, is more so. Why I say this is because so many players, regional players, international players, as well as the sentiments of the public in that region are, make things even more complicated and more uncertain. So it's very difficult to say what's going to happen in the future. But I go with what the Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu has been continuously saying, and as he repeated it, just a couple of days ago, that he sees the fight to be a long, in a very long scenario, to destroy all the bases of Hamas, which the Israeli says is their goal, is very, very difficult, because we are seeing reports, we are seeing videos that the tunnels that they have made, the bases they have made, they are not, like very easy to ascertain, like where they will be located. They are inside the schools, they're inside the hospitals. In fact, the hospitals which the UN has built, they're even inside them. So it's a very complicated task, and it's a very difficult task. And we are seeing that tolls and tolls of death are happening in Gaza Strip. So maybe it may be so that the amount of death and misery that is taking place right now in Gaza may somehow, end this conflict sooner than later. But with regards to if we just go by the goal of the Israeli military, and if they are willing to fulfill all of their goals, in that case, it's going to be a very long war, and I cannot see an end to it in the coming months. But like, really, let's hope for the better. And as the former US President Barack Obama recently made a statement that it's a moral reckoning on all of us, and not just the people involved in the conflict or in the region, but on all of us. It's a moral reckoning, because ultimately we are seeing that mostly it's the women and children that are dying in the Gaza, or the attack that the Hamas did earlier. So let's hope for the better.
Yes, I think you're bang on the point that this conflict has so far has piled up a lot of dead bodies, and has created a lot of humanitarian crisis, and for the world to see. And especially, already we had the Russian-Ukrainian war, because of which the world was facing a lot of problems, especially in supply chains and availability of food grains, etc. And this Israel-Hamas conflict has created a humanitarian crisis of a greater order, and
Right.
heart goes out to all the casualties, and we'll have to see. And one can only hope that this comes to an end at some point of time. But what the Houthis have by joining this initiative, the Hamas initiative, have only complicated the matter, and it seems like that this will only prolong the conflict and the war that is ongoing. And even as we come to the end of the year, we might not see an end to this. And even as we begin the next year, we might not see an end to it. Thank you, Harshit. This was a very fascinating conversation. Thank you, listeners. I'll see you again next year. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Harshit.
Thank you, Amit.
If you liked our show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can tune into them on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow IVM on social media. The handle is @IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And hey, if you'd like to dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs, check us out at our Twitter handle @TakshashilaINST or our website takshashila.org.in.